This is a tweet from Marek, the company chief executive at CI Games, the people that make Lords of the Fallen, and he's saying, "We never had a DEI hiring agenda or took ESG cash, just always went for the best talent." The what? You wanted the best people on your team? What, you wanted to hire on skill and merit? What the hell? I am Couch Coop. We are going to be looking at some new Lords of the Fallen patches 2.14 to 1.9. I've missed a few. The last time I stepped into this, the multiplayer, the co-op was brand new. I want to test a number of scenarios, break down the options that you have to bring someone in or to join someone, and see if we can get some boss fights going and just see how that day to day is. I did suffer a few crashes previously on 2.09, and there was some sort of jank on the join in, and the actual gameplay itself was skipping a bit. Could have been connection issues, but we're going to have a look and see if any of that's cleaned up. Just on a performance front, on a fresh take over on PC, this game has gone through some seriously rigorous improvement on the PC version of the game. My god, it is absolutely impeccable now, rarely drops anything, looks incredible, and I'm running it on a GTX 1660, can you believe? And yes, I fought her again because I want the blasphemous helmet, and I got that blasphemous helmet. So one of the first things I wanted to test was getting someone in your own game. When I did the 2.09 video, I was joining other people. It was taking a little bit of time, but it was kind of working. But I was like teleporting into their game and up to wherever they were. I also couldn't fathom if this matchmaking is running whilst you're out of that bonfire screen. Pretty sure it is. I imagine it would be, so you wouldn't have to just stand there waiting whilst the matchmaking ticked over, because this is crossplay, but it's not the quickest. Joining a shared game seems to fall in faster. I think there's more people looking for players to join them than there are players looking to join other people, if that makes sense. You're also still technically in game when you're standing at these bonfires, which is quite a good source of amusement. And I wanted to point out, on the shared progression front, you have two options now on joining a game. You can either just go in unshared or choose the shared progression option. But it's the getting someone in that I want to cover on this video. We will go to the shared stuff at the end. That's a section I've already looked at. So it's not to jinx it, I'm staying at the altar. To combat this, I've got Nier 1 going on my PlayStation 5 behind me. So I'm just picking up the pad and playing that whenever I can. I have to go from the start as well, no cloud save. I'm in the Tower of London, it's absolutely hilarious. That game hasn't been on the channel since 2017, so it's long overdue. And I've got the Nier 3 alpha demo review, I'll link that. And that's still live until the 18th, so hop on because it's pretty damn cool. Okay, we get somewhere. Someone joins me here in the corner of my eye whilst I'm relearning the Nier 1 controls. I get someone drop in. What I'm flying a bit blind on, and what might be completely obvious but is something I haven't spotted, is what rank or where the other person who's come into your game is up to. You may be able to go on their profile and have a look into their details, but I didn't fathom it. You kind of need to rely on what I think is the game's matchmaking technique. That doesn't always get it right, and I'll show you a little example of that towards the end. Basically, I went into a game and I got my ass kicked. I think there might be a minor teething issue with mid-level scaling for both players on enemy difficulty. It's the set and their weapon, you could probably just spot where they are up to, but I'm assuming it was done on location. So if they're wandering around in that location and they go to that altar and you're there waiting for someone to drop in, it would just marry them up. Marek, can you help me with that one, mate? Tell me how all that matchmaking works in immense detail in the comments and I'll pin it, thank you. But back to my point on the previous video about this co-op, damn, this is fun, and it totally works. All of this footage is with randoms, people I'm not communicating with. I haven't even got my microphone plugged in. Now with this game, as you probably know, there were two realms that you can access, and one of them has differences in the environment. So there might be a platform, there might be a lift that you just can't see until you switch a route. Now you have control of that against the other player. If you're doing this, pull someone into your game system. So you need to be aware that you're not being totally annoying and slow and not bringing up the platforms in time. I imagine that could get on some people's nerves. And unfortunately, I did lose this player, probably because of my inefficiency on that aforementioned. The shared items or progression thing also confuses me a little bit on that beckon someone into your game, because you're not consulted on that decision when someone comes in. So you do have to get to items twice. They don't pick things up for you. But that's kind of okay, and this game probably wasn't dreamt up from the ground with co-op in mind. It's surprisingly good how they've added it, and it still doesn't completely ruin that game model. Particularly with those lamp mechanics and some of the secret areas, it could turn into a nightmare with somebody who doesn't want to make sure that other player has a half decent time. I think also I actually technically got invaded on that Crimson setup, so there's a PvP option to it now where someone can sort of dive into your game. I'm not sure if the person receiving the invasion has an option to turn that off, but it cordoned me into an area. There was a username appeared on screen, but they never turned up. It was a bit of an anticlimax, so I was quite annoyed. I may well put a video out about the PvP on this game, and I want some feedback because I never really look at it in Souls-likes or Dark Souls games. I'm a big fan of the single player experience, so you're lucky that this is a bit of a rarity that I'm into this co-op on Lords of the Fallen, but it's just so good. It's also all free, all of this patch, at least 50 of them. This is like No Man's Sky level of improvement. These last few months, what has also happened is because I've been indulging so much in the shared co-op with this game, my character in its own base single player game is well OP. When I was putting content out about this game on the PlayStation 5, I obviously have another progression profile, and this was so much more difficult for me. There is talk of some of it being a little bit easier in the game, but I think it's to do with too much progression on that single player content. So I figured I should try and join someone else's game. Now with this section, I did leave it running whilst I was wandering around here, and it did just drop in completely unannounced that it had found a game, and it whipped me out of my current game. I did not have to stand at that altar, so I might just be overthinking that one and jinxing it when someone comes into your game. I may have just been unlucky when running around with that matchmaking process. But this is where I realised the scaling may be a bit iffy. Either that or I'm actually terrible at this game. And this is really how difficult it should be. I am also in an area I'm not overly familiar with, but the actual section in the game itself is kind of where I'm up to. I think what it is, Borderlands 3 does this, is it gets a middle ground between the two ranks of the players. It just felt like I was not really getting anywhere with dealing damage, and the other individual was. And we see a death here, and I had to be revived. That was extremely embarrassing for me. Okay, so here was the ultimate test. I wanted to bring someone into my game right in front of a boss and get them in to help me, a la any Dark Souls game. It did actually work. I just had to hang around the altar that was closest to the boss, and the person I got in didn't seem that heavily OP. It can ruin boss fights sometimes, having someone who can just one-shot the damn thing, but it looked pretty level, and it was quite a lot of fun. These patches have really reinvigorated the game for me. I look at it in a whole new light, and they're showing it to people and getting to play it with friends. It's a really great addition to what was, I consider, quite a strong Souls-like in the first place. On the patch front, obviously you'll hear back from me when 3.0 comes in. They may well make that quite large, and this month we have a huge Cyberpunk update and patch coming in for completely nothing, so I will be definitely checking that out on day one. As mentioned, Nier 3 demo, go check it out, and stay tuned for the Nier 1 review on the PlayStation 5. It does come with some backward boosts. All will be revealed. Was Couch Coop. I will see you down there.